This is your friendly neighborhood PhD, and you're listening to the TYE POD.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much again for joining the TYE POD today. I'm joined by Kate, and she has Limb-Girdle Muscular Dystrophy. And you're doing work as a digital creator and model, I understand, too. And so I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit, as well as kind of sharing some common things that we experience with MD. So it's great to have you, Kate.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Really excited to chat today.
Yeah, same here.
This is our first time meeting too, so it's really exciting.
I know. It's always a good time to, meet somebody and share some stories, because we all have so much in common, I feel like, with the MD community. So yeah. I kind of wanted to start with like an icebreaker type thing though. If you have a song that has been either like a lifelong thing or even a current song that sort of symbolizes some part of you or that you're just into, just kind of wherever you want to take it.
Oh my gosh, that's a loaded question.
That might be the hardest one of the whole day.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
hard
yeah.
one. I thought you were gonna ask me about my personal life, not basic stuff like music.
Mhm.
Ooh,
I start heavy hitting
That is,
questions.
yeah, this is tough. I listen to a lot of things. I can't
Yeah.
even point out a singular song. I'm the worst. I definitely have a huge playlist, and
Yeah.
it ranges from, like, let's just say I listen to everything except for
Okay.
screamo. So
Okay.
it's yeah, music makes me happy though. That is a good question, but it's a tough question to answer.
Yeah, it is
I'm gonna
tough,
cop out. I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah, yep. I
What's
also
yours?
have a very diverse library of I listen to pretty much everything also.
Right? Yeah. So what would you say is, do you mean like
You
theme
know,
song currently?
kind of, yeah, like and it's only showed up like in the last probably 5 years, but it's the lyrics really hit me. It's called "I Am the Highway" by Audio Slave. It's kind of that
Mm.
grunge type 90s, style from Chris Cornell was the lead singer, but I just feel like the lyrics kind of fit life in a wheelchair and, going through a lot of the things that we
Oh,
do.
okay.
So
So you're
yeah.
saying like a theme song. I will get back to you
Yes.
on that
Perfect.
probably later on off this podcast, because now I'm gonna start thinking about it.
Yep, now it's going to be in your mind for a while. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that
I'm gonna have
sounds
to think
good.
about that one. Yeah.
Yeah, yep, and we can use that as like the intro to the podcast or something too, or whatever. But we'll see. Yeah, yeah. So that's got that question out of the way, so it should be smooth sailing.
Yeah, it'll be easy from
Yeah,
here.
yeah. But yeah, I think now, just kind of like if you want to talk a little bit about just like you and what you're into and like highlights of
Oh
kind of,
gosh.
you know, what you've experienced, and we can go into details, kind of
Okay.
organically. Yeah,
You want like a brief intro?
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I wear many hats, as one does when they have a disability and they have to work for themselves. Um, finding work in the corporate world was really tough. So I had to forge my own path, and I am a freelancer or solopreneur.
Mm,
I do lots of things to make ends meet, because the world is so inaccessible, and I have, different energy levels day to day. So I do creative work, I do advocacy, I raise awareness for our disease, I do DEIA stuff, like
mm,
everything involved in our personal world. And
mm,
also I studied advertising design by trade. So I combine the two, and I try to just make fun content and educational content to,
mm,
change the stigma around disability. But also, I have such a unique disease in the sense that I didn't just start off with the obvious symptoms of disability.
mm.
I really progressed that way, and that's a really confusing journey. So,
Yeah,
and because it's always changing, I'm not just going to stay the same way. That I think it's important to, share my story in the sense to raise awareness of the fact that disability is dynamic, and you could be young with one, and you
yeah.
you could be old with one, and it can be situational, it could be permanent, it could be evolving, it could, so that's kind of where I'm at now, and also just being an example or a representation of what most people don't know as disability, right? Like,
True.
yeah, and and I do this for my younger self. Like when I was going through it, I didn't even know I was disabled, and I denied that because I was still mobile, but I couldn't do something. So
Hmm.
I didn't know you can still be identified as disabled if you weren't fully on the opposite end of the spectrum, right?
True. Right. Right.
So
It's
that's
not like so black and white as people assume.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm a tricky case. So there's some days I can do stuff and some days I can't. And
Yeah.
um, you know, through all like my experiences with making friends and dating and even family, I think when they see me, they don't see someone with a disability in the very beginning, right? Because I was still
True.
mobile and I was walking. I just couldn't climb stairs.
Do you
I
feel like
couldn't.
your inner circle changed a little bit as
A
you
hundred
progressed?
percent. As I've
Yeah.
progressed so much and as I started advocating for myself, they've completely changed. I've even noticed their language has changed. And so they're really evolving with me because I think they're absorbing so much of my work online, but
True.
also how now I stand unapologetically in myself, right? Like I am like, well, that's not accessible. Now I don't shrink myself anymore. I'm always like, we can't go there because I can't go
Yeah.
there. And this is terrible design. And so I have this design background that is now bleeding into making things accessible and inclusive. And so I feel very fortunate that I already have that kind of creative design lens.
Yeah.
And now we're
Yeah.
applying it in this space where like people typically think disability design is ugly. And you know, it is. It's very medical looking. I
Mhm.
want to flip
The
that and
color
make,
scheme is usually not good. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or it just looks sad, right? Like it
Like
reminds you of,
depressing. Yeah.
yeah, your situation. Like you want to be able to use it with dignity. And so I'm really interested in reframing disability in a very pleasing, complimentary way that we can feel good about it and actually have this pride and be ourselves alongside disability. Like we don't have to fully be this sad, disabled person, you know, follow that kind of
Exactly.
negative trope, but it's like, how do we lean into it and be, you know, us as we are?
Like it's
And
one, I mean, it's a piece, obviously a big piece of who we are and like our identity and everything, but it's so far from everything with our
but we're
depth as people.
multifaceted.
And
We also
yeah,
have other interests. Like I happen to love interior design anyways, and I happen, you know, we
true.
love music. That has nothing to do with
Yeah.
disability. It's like how do we make these things like so it's not so closed off and like, you know, it's boxed in. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, we deserve everything else too. We just work a little differently
Well,
and
and it's
there's
not
blank
like
space.
disability shouldn't mean that we don't experience everything else that other people do too, you know, like it's not frowned on if, you know, if you have any other issue going on, but like you're still like music or you have passions or, you know, you have a job that you like that's not related to disability, you know, it's like there's all these things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel like that's such a big thing that we're trying to show people is that like, yeah, we're, you know, we're fully capable as adults with disabilities, you know, and we have the things that and all the wants and everything everyone else has. So yeah, I really relate to that for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in my situation, it's like I became disabled, so I have both perspectives, and
true.
I
Was
think
it
that's mhm.
how early was your diagnosis? Like, was it in your 20s, teens, or
Well, I felt symptoms around 13, 14,
okay?
and they were so mild in the sense that it happened over the course of a few years throughout high school, and I still didn't know what was happening because, again, like I said, I was very mobile. I could still
Mhm.
walk, I can still squat, but I just couldn't climb stairs or run as fast anymore. But you know, no one teaches you that you could be in between.
There's a
And
spectrum of disability. Yeah.
yeah, so I didn't get diagnosed until almost end of high school. I was almost 18.
Mhm.
So I was in the
Okay.
dark, just hiding it and being confused. And it was tough because you're just a teenager trying to figure yourself out. But it was even tougher when I was the only Asian girl at my school, mostly. Like there was only like two others, you know? And so I dealt with a lot of like microaggressive racism
Mm.
and comments, and I didn't want to stand out more. So, you know, now there's a word for it. Like I was internalizing a lot of, you know, the shame and the
Absolutely.
whatever it is. But back then I just wanted to get by and not get picked on. And I just wanted to like, I didn't know what was happening to me. So my diagnosis journey was tricky. And then I eventually saw a doctor and we did blood work, and my CK levels were so high that they instantly confirmed it. And
Yeah.
from there on, they just said, well, there's nothing we can do. There's no cure. You're going to eventually lose the ability to walk and you'll be in a wheelchair. So you should probably find a job that allows you to work at a desk.
Mhm.
And I think that's why after I graduated high school, I went for digital arts, which is something that I've always been fond of and been really good at anyway. So
Mhm.
it all kind of worked out the way it did, and I feel really grateful that I followed my gut with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this digital work does allow me to work remotely.
Yeah.
Uh, like, look, we're chatting now. This is part of my work,
I mean, that's yeah, that's what I love so
right?
much about it too is the flexibility. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, that's such a shocking thing I feel like too when you realize that oh there is no cure. Not only that, there's really not a treatment other than like they try steroids to maintain strength, but then those bring a whole like host of issues.
They
And
don't even work for me. We've never tried it.
it was the worst experience. It didn't really help me and all the side effects like the like weight
Mm.
gain, water retention, red like in the skin, and it was just like it was not a good time at all.
Mhm.
So yeah, like it's frustrating that there's really nothing that can be
It
done
is,
other
it's
than
tough when you're trying everything. For me, I'm taking creatine. My doctor did
mm,
say
mhm,
that they've discovered that does help a little bit for my
mhm,
subtype. So I have LGMD 2B,
mhm.
also known as dysferlinopathy. And they said creatine will help a little bit. So I take that every single day as I have for the last decade or
Yeah.
plus. Yeah, that makes me feel bloated. But yeah, that's it. I just feel like that's my medicine. I take that every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. There's nothing else they can do.
Right, right. And even, I know that there's been some trials and even some FDA approved things that have led to concerns recently with other types of
Ye-
MD. And so
Yeah.
it's always this trade-off, too, about like quality of life and, like
And the
obviously,
risk.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
like physical ability is, I mean, obviously it is a factor. It's important, but also at the same time, I'm like, well, that doesn't really define me either. Like I can, be successful and do so much more beyond the physical side of things. I'm just curious, like, it seems like it's kind of been that way for you, like as you've progressed and, and gone through different
Yeah,
things.
it was tough because I was trying to fit myself into this normal world of what we
Hmm.
were expected to do and what you would do if you were, healthy and normal. But
Yeah.
that was really hard for me to try to fit in, and I still didn't really disclose my disability, and I didn't really know how to explain it because I just didn't want other people to treat me differently. I knew
Hmm.
how, the world views disability, and I just felt, I hate to say it, but I was ashamed. I was really embarrassed that I was losing
Hmm.
my ability. I was getting I was just very slow. I kept having falls.
Yeah.
Um, I don't, I was so young that I didn't know how to own it or fully understand what was happening to me. I think part of it
Mhm.
was like, if I just ignore it, I get to live a normal life. And once I stopped trying to fit myself into inaccessible places and like every agent, so I studied advertising, right? And a lot of these
Mhm.
agencies were not accessible. But then even if they were, I didn't know how I was going to get there. So,
True.
right, and so it was, and I still wasn't ready to use a wheelchair or cane yet. So
Mhm.
my early 20s were really tough in trying to find my place in the workplace, but later I realized I got to be my own boss, like I have to. And
Mhm.
so as any freelancer who is building their portfolio or finding clients, that already is really tough. So I feel like in that sense it was standard, like hardship. That was just like
Mhm.
that's the plight. But knowing that some of these agencies wanted you to still come in to the office was tough to explain. And when I did actually disclose it, some agencies didn't want to work with me anymore, even
Mhm.
though they liked my portfolio. So,
Wow,
um,
so they didn't want to work with you anymore at that
well,
point?
it's
Like
just
what?
hard because they want someone in the office. And this was like
Mm.
obviously way before COVID, right? Like
True,
working from
true.
home was just not as accommodating.
Mhm.
So I'm in my early 20s trying to like figure out life. And it felt so isolating to just not fit in. I couldn't, no one could relate to me. No one had answers. I had to figure it all out by myself.
Mhm.
And then it wasn't until probably when I was closer, it's pretty late, closer to 27 or 28. I finally came out of the disability closet and I,
Mhm.
I, I wrote a post about it on social media.
Okay.
And once I did that, I felt so much weight lifted off me. Like I didn't have to pretend to be someone who I wasn't anymore or hold on to the old me,
Mhm.
the old healthy version of me. And I didn't have to explain to anyone anymore why I couldn't do stuff. So I started
Right.
writing about it as a way to advocate for myself because I was just dealing with so much discrimination. And it was tough because if people closest to me couldn't understand me, I knew for sure people who didn't know me would continue judging me and misunderstanding me.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's kind of what happened. And once I stopped resisting what I was becoming, I felt like my whole world changed. Like more opportunities came. I started to lean into who I was becoming.
Mhm.
And that was such a journey, but it was still scary talking into the void of like no one knowing what muscular dystrophy is, right?
Right, right. And what
And
was
how like
the like
mhm.
response like from, I mean, just in general on social media, or like if I don't know if you had family that, followed from the start on social media and like kind of learned from your sharing, like what came about from.
uh I think my family teases me now. Like I've always been the influencer ever since.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
the influencer of the family, but I don't
Hmm.
identify with that because I'm not a typical influencer. I would say I'm a content creator in a way, but also I'm just a digital creator. I'm just someone who I don't even know what to call myself because I did this out of necessity. I started sharing my
Mm,
my story because I was so tired of being misunderstood that I kind of fell into it, like I didn't know people would be interested in wanting to hear my story. And I really
mhm,
thought no one could relate because muscular dystrophy is very rare. And my symptoms are strange in the sense like, I was kind of mobile, but kind of not. So I really didn't know I even resonated with, fully disabled people. And
mhm,
I kind of always felt like I was in limbo for a very long time. Like no one could relate to me. Um, but I ended up getting a lot of responses. I remember putting specifically hashtag MD so others like me could find me because
mhm.
if I went through it alone, like I don't want them to go through it alone. So I told myself I
Right.
would be who I needed. And I had to tap into that strength to do that. for myself and for, you know, future generations. So
Hmm.
that's kind of where I landed. And that's why I wear so many hats now, because I went from doing my creative, you know, advertising, art direction work to now being an advocate. But then I still marry the two, or I still do design work, but I also still do, you know, these kind of guest speaking stuff. So it's like
Right.
now you kind of have to be a jack of all trades, I find. Not only as a freelancer, but as a disabled person. Like we are so creative. We have to really make things work. We have to be
Mhm.
adaptive. Like we have to just always do the heavy lifting for ourselves just to fit in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly how I've felt with the progression too. And I went through college and grad school, and I was in engineering and got my degree in that. And it was like, well, that's nothing like what I'm doing now, but there's so many pieces, so many things I picked up from it, from that kind of thinking, but also bringing in some creativity and mixing that in with it. And it's like, I have no idea what to call myself either as far as like
Yeah, yeah,
professional career. Cause
but being an engineer, that's an incredible skill set to apply to the
yeah,
disability space, right? To enhance,
yeah,
to make your life better. And have you found
yeah.
that you've done it? Have you actually like maybe, I don't know, created something that will
You know,
make your life easier?
For me, it's more like the kind of the adaptive approach, like it makes the problem solving world of disability better for me. And I feel like that's something also that maybe would help, other people in like the approach to, figuring it out and realizing, well, there's not a one size fits all answer, to things. And yeah, I'd say that's kind of the biggest part of it, and just realizing like, and my degree, like my graduate thesis project was nothing like the typical, even in biomedical engineering, it was very, very like multidisciplinary, and it brought in elements from medicine, but from chemistry, biology, it was this kind of, again, like a jack of all trades thing in a way. Um, and that's how I feel is like whatever it is that I'm doing with podcasting and social media and advocacy, all those things, like, yeah, it's just, I'm not sure there's a term for it really.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like disabled
Yeah.
people are multifaceted. And I think
Yeah.
most society overlooks that. They just think they're like this sad, lonely, depressed.
Depressed state. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But it's
Yep.
like I think the most creative people are actually disabled
Hmm.
people. Like
Hmm.
we figure it out, we make it work in a world that's not designed with us in mind.
Right. Right. And like
We
I'd
have to be
like
our own
to
engineers. You just
totally
happen to actually have the
the
schooling
degree to
on.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we end up becoming that because we have to figure out how to make it work.
Well, because that's like how, I mean, that's how we survive. That's how we find,
Exactly.
yeah,
Hmm.
where kind of where we are and where we fit into to things. And yeah, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Um, as far as like the advocacy lens and everything, like, do you feel like you've seen improvement there? Like, is it one step forward, two steps back, so to speak, that kind of approach, or what's been your experience with that?
Do you mean like the impact that I have from doing the work?
Or like, have you seen change in disability, like accessible, areas or people's opinions? Have you seen anyone sort of change their mindset towards disability at all? Or
Yeah, yeah. Since I started, I definitely get a lot of old classmates or people who knew me
mm,
before. Sometimes DM me something they've seen that was either, you know, like at the ISA, parking sign, or a ramp, or what gets me most excited is now seeing really bad, inaccessible ramps or bad designs, because that just means there's room for improvement. And so I'm getting a lot of those kind of DMs. So
mhm,
I'm very happy to see that people are actually paying attention now.
mhm,
And they're I'm the only one they've been touched by disability for a fact. Like I know it, right? And then now I'm more wrapped up in the disability community
mhm,
that I am so used to that, so I almost expect it. But I know from people from my past life are now changing. Like I can see the change. They say it, and they're instead of saying disabled person or disability, or handicap or cripple, they're saying wheelchair user, you know, mobility aid
mhm,
user, or that's not accessible, or that's not very
mhm,
inclusive.
mhm.
And their language is changing, and their perspectives changing. And it's nice that I'm getting pictures because they think of me. So as much as maybe sometimes I'm not, it's scary putting myself out there.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of quiet watchers as well, because when I don't post for a while and then I finally do, sometimes I get the odd message telling me like, you know, I love your content, keep it up, like you've really changed my mind. But more importantly, I'm also doing it for people in our community. I want them to know that like, yeah, we have each other,
Mhm.
and you're not alone. So yeah, it actually, it like I do see it making waves, but
Yeah.
it's just not fast enough. Like I wanna reach the
True.
people who have the money to actually make the changes. I think
Mhm,
perspective is one
mhm,
thing and empathy is the, you know, the beginning, but then I also want to perhaps, you know, talk to an actual engineer who can
mhm,
make these changes for us,
mhm, mhm,
right? And so that's where I'm also shifting my direction, like my attention to more the corporate spaces because they have the money to do it. We need to
True.
target them. They're the one who has a wider reach and funding, you know? So
Right, right. And it's been so incremental, I feel like, with improvements of any kind, you know, that
yeah.
it's there. Like, obviously, the sad part is that money does make, you know, a lot of it different. And if there are bigger, you know, corporate entities out there that put some money behind it, like that's where improvements can really happen fast.
Well,
But
this is why our
yeah,
voice matters, and that's why I'm really happy to see more disabled voices being amplified
yeah.
because we are clearly the experts. We are the target audience, we are the experts,
Mhm.
like hire us, right? But they're never gonna properly do accessibility right if they're not hiring people with disabilities,
Right,
right?
right, right.
So it's great that, you know, you and I are really making the efforts to talk and have this conversation. So
Hmm.
maybe one day we'll reach the right person who's gonna be like,
I hope
I
so, you
want to
know.
hire these two and let's make this thing happen, right?
Exactly, exactly. And like there's still brand new buildings at universities, even when I was going, that they either put the like the push buttons for opening doors too high or behind a table, or you know, or they forget to put them in at all. I've seen that too in these brand new facilities that obviously cost hundreds of thousands, if not more. And it's just like
But
how
you know someone, you know it's probably an able-bodied person with no
you know it
experience
is totally.
doing that job. They're
And
checking
so
off
it's
the boxes.
like shouldn't we be like consultants like in these designs and how they're implemented and things like that? And it's just
Exactly. So that's kind of where also that's another like hat I wear. I'm also a consultant. I want to do that because I have the lived experience to do it as well, right? Like we're not talking about just making sure we get through the door. We're making
right.
sure we can also have a good time,
Right,
right? Whatever
and
it is
getting
we
through
need
the
to do.
door is like, I mean, that's only the
It's like bare
start.
minimum.
Bare minimum, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and with like with the ADA like requirements, it's still, you know, things like that are still happening. And it's just like it's mind blowing that it's just yeah, it's
How do you find the
annoying.
accessibility where you're living now?
Honestly, like I went through so much like progression from my last ICU experience and everything that I here and there I get out some, but you know, it's in the cities, it's decent. There's one thing I experienced yesterday actually was a crosswalk that had like they tried to fill in the pavement where there was a pothole and it was extremely rough and I had to circle around it with cars coming like you know like I don't know, it's just crosswalks even are an issue. Or and that's it's not just in Tennessee or Nashville or wherever. It's like I've seen those things everywhere still, you know. And it's yeah, in general I'd say it's not that different. Like it's partially accessible but far from enough, you know. Yeah, that's kind of how I would put it. But I don't know what it's like where you're at in your area. Is it overall accessible?
Well, I've lived here my whole life, so
Yeah.
it's different because now that use a wheelchair to go out versus when I used to actually walk with my cane
Mm,
or with my friends. Um, there are different barriers and it's a whole different experience being a wheelchair user now.
true.
For instance, like everyone's like, well, you have a wheelchair now, shouldn't it make life easier? And it's like, well, yes and no. It opens up new doors, but it presents different challenges now.
True,
So if I were to
exactly.
go into a smaller, I don't know, restaurant or bar that's more narrow and it has a step, you know, before I had my chair, my friends would just pick me up and then we'd slowly
Oh,
walk
okay.
through the narrow bar or restaurant. Now it's like, how do I get you and this chair up the steps, but also in this like narrow place without people tripping and falling over you and you running into their legs, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
stuff like that is different. Or how do I open the door from a seated position when raising my hand is harder? Now I can't open or lock the door, whereas I
Yep.
can do that easily standing.
Yeah.
So like Toronto's old, but now that I've traveled to a few places, for instance, I recently went to Montreal. Oh my God, I didn't even see a single ramp. It
Really?
was
Okay.
hilly. Yeah, it was hilly. You know, that is a very old place, which now makes me appreciate Toronto. So
Mm,
everything is perspective,
it's
but
relative always,
it,
yeah.
yeah, of course, right? So like I actually feel like now Toronto's actually like pretty flat.
Mm,
I've been to Saskatchewan, Canada,
okay.
and because that's where I was born. And I remember going back in university, and even though it's notorious for being flat because they're a prairie, right?
Hmm.
I found their sidewalks were so tall, and that meant their curb cuts were like it would drop, so I couldn't get up and down the curves because they were so much taller than Toronto curbs or sidewalks. So it's
Hmm.
very interesting how every place is like, yes, it's not hilly, but then there's this factor, but then it's hilly, but then it's like, so I now think with now all this new knowledge, Toronto's
Hmm.
not so bad. I think they are making more of an effort.
Hmm.
And there's a company, a local company here called Stopgap Foundation, and they build custom wooden ramps for every storefront. So at least they
Nice.
have that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it makes that a lot easier. But now it's like, oh my God, Montreal didn't really have it. Yeah, a lot of places I see don't have a makeshift ramp, or if they do, it's really bad.
Mhm.
So yeah, love Toronto. Don't think I'm gonna go anywhere.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I
But
mean, like, yeah,
yeah,
experience of living in a place, for a long time too, I think definitely helps as well.
you
But
get used to it as well,
yeah,
right? You know where to go, what to
yeah.
avoid, and so it does come with experience. But when I went to Washington for the LGMD conference,
Hmm.
I was expecting America to be really inaccessible for some reason,
Hmm.
and it actually was maybe because we were downtown, but I found it actually decent.
Yeah, yeah. It does seem like that, the urban city areas are, doing a decent job for the most part. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
that's
so
good
I
that your
was shocked.
experience was good though.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
did have some followers message me and say that they were also shocked by America being more accessible than
Mhm.
Canada.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe can maybe America's doing it better. I don't know. Maybe I gotta move over there.
Again, I think it's probably relative, based on like the state, like the rural areas, where I've been more with less people, and like there's more like, I don't know, like dirt pathways, and if
Hmm.
there's snow, obviously, like
So
all
can
these
your
things.
wheelchair, I'm guessing you use a wheelchair, right?
Yeah, yeah. So with my Duchenne, I was using a power chair right around um right before high school. I started
Mm.
using it, and so yeah, it's gradually been progressive, but it's a power chair now and everything, and yeah, it's amazing. Like for all the features and things they put in it, it still has really big issues.
Can I ask how much your
Yeah.
wheelchair was?
Oh, so if it
Because
like
I'm asking because most people don't realize how
that's
expensive they
true.
are.
It's very, very that's a
Yeah,
good
and
point.
I
But
want to
like
highlight it. It's basically a car, you know?
it is, and like power chairs start out now, I think like the Promobile I have starts out at like 30, 40,000, but like by the
And
time
this
you
is
add,
USD.
yeah, yeah, and by the time you add all the features that you need, I mean, you're pushing 70, $80,000, and like without, if you don't have any kind of assistive medical coverage or anything, there's no way to do that. I mean, nobody can afford that. So it's just
Yeah, that's
mind blowing.
crazy. That's crazy. And this is why it's so important that if it gets damaged, it is a big deal.
Yeah, and you don't have a backup sitting there, or usually you don't.
Do you have a backup actually?
I don't know. I used to, and it it was heavily duct taped. Let me tell you. In fact, the seat cushion broke down so much, but it was at a level I needed when I could still transfer. That we must have duct taped that thing 10 times to keep the seat together because the height was just right,
Oh my
and
God.
it was just like the chair quit. Like it would not function. The motors were gone. Like it wouldn't drive. So it would be like a manual wheelchair. Yeah, and so like it's crazy, what lengths you have to go to have a backup chair even, and
Hmm.
you can't get parts covered. And so like I remember I was looking online, like, can I find a used motor on eBay to like put on this chair to keep it working? And
And that's probably so difficult to find.
it's impossible. It
Hmm.
is impossible. Yeah. And there's such a like a vice grip on the parts and the technology, and there's so much money involved with it that there's no there needs to be like a dealership for wheelchairs, like car repairs and things, or like changing the oil.
It's
Or
true. It is an actual vehicle.
it really
Yeah.
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And when it malfunctions or gets damaged, or it's like, well, there goes my legs for the day. Like I can't go anywhere. Or if repairs are taking way too long, if there's delays there, or getting parts shipped in, or it's just like layers of issues that happen there.
So when you were looking for parts on eBay, did you ever come across anyone actually selling them?
I did, in like Facebook Marketplace, there's some sales there, but honestly, like I never found motors that made my old chair work. And what's strange, I'm not sure that was even the issue, because there's like complex electronics, right? Like so there's electrical engineers that are probably needed to make that work better. And so it was like, well, the motors weren't even the problem, and I could never figure it out. So at that point, it was like, well, we were doing some R&D, like testing stuff on it anyway, and I was just like, whatever, let's scrap it, and move on. But yeah, it's the stuff I found was it seemed like aftermarket, and it was a risk, like financially too, because you don't know if it's going to even work. So yeah.
Yeah, I find that. Do you find that even with clothes, like shoes, everything that you
Oh,
try? Yeah, you can't even you buy them and then you
oh,
can't even you can't even use it, and then you also can't return it because it's a lot of work, and then you just like bleed money.
it's like gambling. I mean, it's like you're
Yeah,
you're like going to a slot machine or something, and you're like,
yeah.
well, I'm going to spin it, and if this clothing works, great. If not, well, back to Amazon and refund. And then for me
There's a lot of
lately,
trial and error.
it is, and now
Yeah.
finding things that work with, like I have a ventilator tube, and I have these things that have to be maintained, and you have to like get clothing that won't pull or detach stuff, and it's just like
So do you have like a go-to brand?
no, to be honest, nothing right now. It's like totally working. And
Mm.
like my shirts, I'm trying to like I have to have them like basically cut with scissors up the back to be open, so it like wraps around me instead of having to lift my shoulders up to put it in the sleeves, and that kind of thing. And it's
So
just kind of
you're modifying your own clothes now.
exactly, yeah. And even that doesn't always work. And obviously when you cut the shirts, the threads unravel, right? And so like well, it's gonna wear out quicker. So yeah, it's all kinds of issues with that too. And I
I
haven't
find
worn
that oh, sorry.
shoes. Like I haven't had shoes that fit me in 5+ years since I went into surgery. And so most of the time I don't wear them. Yeah. So it's a whole nother issue with clothing.
Yep, yep. And they got to be nice in your style too, which is even harder because I find that my style is also really compromised because now I'm just trying to wear for function, whatever is convenient,
Yep.
whatever is easy. I'm
Do you
finding like also lifting my arms is getting tougher. So throwing
yes.
like a shirt over my head is getting challenging. So I'm gravitating towards now like things that can come off like this, or like, like instead
That's
of
exactly
having a
what I've been
onesie.
yeah.
Yeah, even for like a skirt or nothing that requires lifting my legs or arms anymore. I just want to like throw it on.
Exactly, exactly. And like I don't know if you're like me, but I miss the style elements. Like that's kind of I got excited. I found these caps that kind of have this cool pattern and things, and it's like I can bring some elements of style back
Of
into
like, yeah, actually you to it.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
it's nice to find little bits of that, of expression. I think yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Have you been
Where'd you get
able to
your
do
cat
that?
from?
Like, is there? I couldn't tell you. It was on Amazon. I couldn't tell you
Is
the
it like a
brand.
special adaptive hat or is it
No,
like
it's just like a standard like flex fit hat. Like it doesn't have like an adjustable Velcro. It's more like a stretchy material. But like I kind of
mm.
like the pattern. It was like it reminded me of like a turtle shell or something. And I thought, hey, that's cool. And
And you
yeah,
find that you don't really get to do that often? Find something that you like
like
that's actually
something like
you?
that. No,
Well, like
no,
that you actually like aesthetically.
that resonates that way. No, it's
Yeah,
it's rare. And if
really.
I mean, something that's comfortable to routinely use is a big deal.
Mhm.
Back when I was in grad school, I'd be ordering these blue jean pants from overseas in the UK somewhere. They had like Velcro and like a drop front, detachable cover, and like wearing blue jeans was something that was my thing for 30 years. Until it was impossible to wear them. And it's just like you keep trying to maintain some of that sense of style, but it's adaptive too. Like you have to constantly be changing it, and there's no great place. Like I feel like I need a seamstress or like some
Yeah.
retail store that would like get measurements and just build something exactly to fit. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and then there's cost, right? Like that's more expensive
Well, that's
to.
the thing, and I know it's a disability price tag. We spend so
Yeah,
much more
yeah,
money, at least for me, which is really tough when you're already working for yourself and, it's harder to make money to that degree where you can pay for everything customizable. But that ends up
definitely.
happening. It's a lot of trial and error, a lot of customizing, and then outgrowing things that maybe your ability like for me anyway, I found like something could work for me, and then half a year later or a year later, suddenly I can't wear it anymore. And
Hmm.
that's still relatively new, right? Or I hold on to the same pair of shoes that I've had for like 12 years because it's the only one that I could comfortably walk it,
Exactly.
but
Yeah.
it's so beat up and it's embarrassing.
My shoes were almost just like in pieces by the time because I
Yeah.
found one set that worked, and it was like, well, I
You
mean,
got to hold
they're
on to
like,
it.
and
It's
it's like this
precious.
brown leather, like it was just business enough to get by at like conferences I would go
Oh
to
yeah,
or
yeah.
anything.
Finding accessible dressy clothes is also really tough.
It is, yeah, yep,
Yeah.
yep. So like
For-
occasions become a hassle, right? Like you're constantly
It's
trying to find
stressful.
things. Yeah,
It is
yeah,
stressful. You want to look good and presentable, but you also want to
exactly.
be, fitting for the event.
And what's sad, like, is as
Um,
much as you want it, you don't always have it. Like you have to make do with whatever fits at the time,
but this is what makes us look bad. No one's providing us options to have nice
That's what I'm
things.
saying. That is what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So like right
Yeah.
now, my go-to attire, like for covering my shoulders and everything, is a salon cape, believe it or not. And it's like
Oh.
because it affords that space, and it's easy to put on. I don't have to spend 30 minutes getting dressed to go out and do something. But at the same
Mm.
time, it's like it gets kind of annoying to like it never looks any different and there's not many options for changing the color or whatever. So
It's just like a uniform now.
it basically is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I found the caps with some color, I was like, okay, like I can bring in some expression again. but
Mhm.
but yeah, yeah, it's
Clear
all that fashion stuff, I think is, and just like our own style. Like I wish it
Mm.
was more emphasized and more
There
better
are some
options
brands that
out
are
there.
coming out with doing more
True.
adaptive stuff, so it is
Yeah.
coming. So unfortunately, it's just taking a while.
Yeah. Yep.
But
Well,
this
and
is why
our
it's a
progression happens at a pace that we can't predict either, right?
yeah, and because you and I are in our 30s, I think during our time when we were really feeling it, it wasn't really a thing. So the next generation are very lucky because it just feels like a different climate now. Like there's so much
Mm-hmm.
more resources, there's so many more people, there's so much more relatability. It's like there's just more things that you could
Yeah.
lean into to know that you're not alone, but also there's different ways. And that's why I love TikTok, for instance, like where there are really honest people that are so candid about their experiences. And it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like if you share your human flaw of like some kind of health issue or disability or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
people will eat that up online. And
It's
that's
true.
now ironically gaining traction, whereas there was so much stigma that before you would hide it, right? Like things have changed.
It's
And
true.
I'm really
Yeah.
excited to see the next generation being so brave and bold about sharing their story because, this has been brands and companies will see us and be like, there is a need. We got to
Mm-hmm.
tap into it.
And there have
Um,
been an increase in like companies and clothing that's more adaptive. You're right. And like even
mhm.
that there's like, well, fashion shows now too, I think quite a bit featuring disabled models, that they can try different things or give input
Well,
or
so I'm
yeah.
very lucky. My agency signed me. They found me through
Yeah.
TikTok from my content and they
Hmm.
signed me. And I think I was their first disabled model. So they were very honest with me and saying, like, we're going to learn this together. We don't really know, but we want to support you and like spread your message. And I'm like,
Hmm.
I agree. Like, I appreciate that. I also don't know how to navigate the fashion industry. So we will do this together. But that whole experience has been really interesting too, because I'm so niche that I'm literally only mostly getting jobs sent for people with a disability, a
Hmm.
visible one at that.
Hmm.
And when I was first signed, I didn't have my wheelchair yet. So when you looked at me, you still couldn't really, I didn't look disabled
Yeah.
to fit the visual, need of whatever their campaign needed or wanted. So the whole journey has been crazy. But then once I got my wheelchair and actually booked a gig, um, the studio or the set wasn't accessible.
Of
So
course.
it's so crazy, right? Like it's like you think you're in a safe space because you're cast as someone with a disability and
Hmm.
they're looking for that. You think you're going to be accommodated, but then when you show up on set and it takes effort to show up on set,
True.
you find that it's not accessible. So then you like scratch your head and you're like, what happened here? Because like, they're clearly not talking to each other or really thinking about these are real people with disabilities that we're casting, not just to check off a DEI box.
Exactly.
And so it's been interesting, and I still think we have a long way to go with disability representation,
Mm.
unfortunately. Um, I'm signed, I'm in Toronto, I'm in a big city, and we're still not making enough moves, like maybe because I'm not as my wheelchair also looks a little bit different than a traditional
Mm.
one, but
Hmm.
I'm also not like 10 feet tall. And so it things are very outdated still
They
is
are.
what I'm experiencing,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is unfortunate because you see online like people want that, but then is the experience actually inclusive?
Exactly, exactly. And there's still that communication breakdown on like
Mm,
when you're trying to find out if a venue's accessible or what's needed or how to implement it. It's like it takes like a Herculean effort to get accessibility like changed or added
and
or
it's tough too because I wonder if they'd rather hire or cast a model with no access needs because they can get to and from the location or
right.
set on their own versus having to do all this extra work
It's
to
more
accommodate me.
expense for the company,
Yeah,
right?
and
Yeah,
more
yeah,
energy, more work, and that industry
yeah.
moves fast. Like I've done auditions where I'll get a call back the next day and then we shoot in 3 days. Like
Ooh.
they move fast. So
And
I
with
almost
disability, that's way harder
that's
to,
way too fast. So I
yeah.
sometimes have to drop everything and then do my audition, submit it. And yeah, sometimes you could be shooting as fast as a week later.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, usually you only get like 2 days heads up for an audition. So
Yeah.
yeah, they move fast, and I do wonder how other disabled creators get work. And personally, I haven't seen too much of uh, Canadian models get
Hmm.
gigs, and the ones that do are more mobile than me. So
Yeah. Yeah. So like
it's
it's almost
frustrating.
like they're only casting ones that fit that like yes, they're
R-
disabled technically, but really they don't need that much help with
Yeah,
accessibility.
exactly.
Yeah.
They don't need as much accommodation, but
Yeah.
they visually check the box.
Yeah. Yeah. And what a
So
what a shitty way to approach like helping people with
yeah.
access. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
yeah.
so I still think there's a long way to go, but fortunately, I
Yeah.
think brands and companies and designers are seeing there is a need, and a lot of that comes from more of us speaking up and being ourselves online. And
Yeah. Yeah.
mm,
It's again, it's incremental, right? It's just like these small changes and you just want to see more. So you're right. Like the next generations, I hope, like it's going to be a lot better.
I
And
think they're going to have it a lot easier.
yeah. So, and hopefully that's like going through some of this stuff is helping a little bit with making it easier. But yeah.
Mhm.
I'm curious too, like I wanted to ask you about kind of the idea of intersectionality of being a woman of color and having a disability. Like I feel like it adds so many really great and unique experiences and thoughts, but also at the same time, I know there's probably like combined discrimination or anything like that. Like how have you approached it?
It is a very good question, and I think that many
Yeah.
people, especially white folks, want to ask me that because,
Yeah.
like I mentioned, I grew up in a very, very predominantly white city. So it is already challenging being Asian. And as I was losing my ability
Mhm.
and moving differently, like literally moving differently, I felt like that put more of a target on my back. Like I definitely dealt with a lot of micro racism, but I think that
Mhm.
also subconsciously made me want to hide what was happening to me, even though I didn't fully understand. I just didn't know how to be like, guys, I don't know if I should go see a doctor. I'm starting to move differently. Like I never felt safe enough to even have that conversation with any
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
But eventually I did only tell my close friends once I got diagnosed, but I still wanted to hide it because I just felt it was such a personal and private thing. But that said, yeah, the reason why I also think it's important that I'm, being a voice for this community is because you don't see many Asian people
Hmm.
with disabilities. And I think in the Asian community, it's almost like it's not very supported. Um, they're a bit more old school and judgmental.
Hmm.
So I do feel the difference. I definitely feel very intimidated to hang around more Asian people in the sense like the older generation.
Right. Right.
Um, but yeah, it's definitely tough because I check off I'm a woman, I'm Asian, and I'm disabled. And so I do have a lot of those experiences intersectionally, right? Like
Right.
it is tough, but I'm starting to you just got to be who you are. And
Exactly.
I openly talk about it because like I made myself small for so many reasons. Like I was embarrassed to be Asian when I lived in this white city, you know? Now that I'm in Toronto, which is such a diverse city, thank God.
Mhm.
I love it. I'm very proud, obviously. But
Yeah.
that's what happens when you're young, right? Everyone makes you feel bad for being who you are. And
Right.
so once
Right.
I overcame the race thing, the ethnic thing, I started to feel shame that I was becoming disabled. And it just like doesn't
It's just
end.
waves of yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot. But I think because I'm now well in my almost mid-30s, I feel I can confidently say, I
Yeah.
am who I am. I love who I am. And I've
Yeah.
really worked through all those issues that used to make me feel ashamed.
Yeah.
Um, but I have to say, I'm still working on navigating being disabled around older Asian folks.
Right. Right.
Like when I went through Chinatown in my wheelchair, I don't know
Hmm.
why I felt like everyone was staring at me because I look younger too than I actually am, but also
Hmm.
it's just like I don't know if people really see that in Asian culture. They're not as supportive, I find, as like,
Hmm.
like just maybe perhaps white culture. Like I don't know.
It's
I
almost
can't
like
speak for them.
there's crossovers of stigma based on
100% because
like
they don't
yeah.
know, right? And
Yeah.
then and I think especially Asians don't really like openly talk about things,
Hmm.
or we don't talk about mental health. They're very hardworking,
Hmm.
and that stereotype is true, unfortunately, but they work very hard, and they don't really talk about it. At least I never received that. My family
Hmm.
was busy surviving. So as I went through my symptoms, I didn't even talk to them about it because I didn't know. And what are the chances I have something so incredibly rare that was so slow progressive
Hmm.
that no one believed me in the beginning, as I
That
was
has to
telling
just
them.
be like
Yeah.
so isolating in a way too. Like
Yeah,
there's
and
just
it's like,
no
how do you even explain what muscular dystrophy is in another language?
yeah, yeah, and like
You
how
know?
dynamic it is, and like how I mean like one MD is nothing like another, and like the progressions are also different. I mean, yeah, it's
Exactly, yeah. Everyone's
yeah.
so different. So I have an older brother with it, and he
Mhm.
progressed way differently than me. We're 7 years apart, and he just progressed more than I did, but it
Mhm.
hit him way later.
Mhm.
So I think for him, it was around like 19, 20, but for me, I was 13, 14. But
Okay.
coincidentally, that age gap is around when we felt it at the same time. So I don't know if this disease
Mhm.
affects women differently than men.
Mhm.
But we also handle it so differently, and I can't speak for him, but I just know how I navigated it. And sometimes I couldn't relate to him, even though he knows exactly what I'm going through. And so it
Right.
wasn't until my late 20s when I started advocating online, that I actually connected with someone who was a few years younger than me. And she was living in Arizona, I think. But she has a slight gene variation, so she's 2A, not
Mhm.
2B like me. And that was the first time I felt seen because she was a woman going through
Mhm.
similar experiences of, navigating dating and work
Which is
and
another, each one of those things is like its own giant
its own thing,
list
right?
of,
But
yeah,
as much as I had a brother who knows what I'm going through, I couldn't relate to him.
true.
So that's very interesting too, right? Like this
Yeah,
disease is
yeah.
so complex and isolating and weird that this is why we need to talk to one another, right? To finally find some kind of relatability, like to feel like we're not alone. Because if I didn't, yes, I live with my brother my whole life, like he lives with it,
Mhm.
but why did I not find true, like I didn't feel seen until my late 20s
Isn't that crazy how that
from
happens
someone in
too?
the
Like,
States, you know?
yeah, no, I feel that too. Like there were so few people with MD anywhere in New Mexico where I was, and it was just like, I was late to the social media thing. Like until I was, having all this downtime with my recovery, I didn't have time to like create content or establish connections or find people with MD other places, and it's just like, I don't think you realize how much, or I didn't realize how much I missed it or needed it until I found it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm really thankful for social media. I used to loathe it too, even though it was
yeah.
part of my work as like doing marketing campaigns. But
Yeah.
when I started to use it for a personal reason, I went public. I really put myself out there, and
Mhm.
that has connected me to our incredible community. And I don't think I would have ever found that if I didn't make social media, like
Yeah,
and make
same
an
here.
account, right, or use it, right? And it's like now I purposely hashtag so people find me, and now I love following other creators who share, more and more
Yeah,
people that I can find, and so I find it as like I see it as a tool and not some toxic thing. And
true.
I've been very fortunate that I think in my experience so far that I haven't had too many negative comments. I
Mhm.
think because I'm really taking people on this journey with me of progressing that I'm so candid about the ups and downs of feeling that I think people who follow me don't see it as like, oh, she's faking it or
Yeah.
she's like I had one comment, but she, whatever. But most of the time they're like, oh, that's great. Like
That's been
I've
my
been
experience too. Yeah,
yeah, I've been
it's
very
almost
lucky.
like your intentionality of like how you're interacting, how you're using it, who you're looking for, what hashtags there are. It's like that has a big influence
It's
on
a tool, yeah,
it,
it's
it
a
is,
tool,
yeah.
and I don't have anyone writing nasty comments, like, no ableist comments, but I have noticed on other people's reels, and I think it's because I don't post enough because my energy levels,
Hmm.
um, other disabled creators get some nasty comments, and
Oh yes,
I
definitely.
feel for them, and I hate that, but TikTok is so it's weird, the users are different, they're so supportive on TikTok, but on Instagram, it's nasty,
Yeah.
what I've
Yeah, I feel
noticed.
like I've tried to use TikTok a little more, and the digital user interface is so hard for me with like the
It's overwhelming,
technology I
right?
use. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And like,
it's a lot of things on it, but you get used to it.
but also the thing that bothers me too is like it won't turn the screen because I use an iPad for almost everything. And so it's always in
Oh.
landscape,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so like TikTok has only like certain features, right? Like they're only in portrait mode. And it's just like, how am I supposed to? I'm reading sideways trying to post, something. And it's like, yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's a good
it's,
point, yeah.
yeah, that's my
Mm.
one thing with it. Otherwise, I'd probably be
So
using
even
it.
if you're using it portrait mode, the TikTok doesn't load like that?
Exactly, but Instagram does. Like so many
Oh.
other apps rotate it
Oh.
automatically.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's
Oh, that's good
crazy.
to know. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good to
yeah.
know.
So like I'm like, how do I get in touch with the accessibility developers of TikTok and be like, hey, can you add this feature because it would change everything, So
Not even just for you, it'd be for a
it's
lot of people
true.
who just happen to have an iPad and wanna use it too, right?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, it's just
Because
all those little
they made it
things.
for desktop, so I don't know if that also
Mm,
if you've tried it on desktop.
I need to see if I can start posting on there. I know I've
You
actually
should, you really should.
tested out
That's
all
how I've
versions
gained a
of.
lot of that's how some people found me. Like, it works better
Oh,
than
okay.
Instagram. Yeah,
Really? Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I'll have to look at that
So
on desktop. Yeah.
just yeah, just take your old clips and put it up, make an
Yeah,
account.
that's exactly what I've been taking old stuff and just like trying to like I can read sideways just occasionally. So I try it that way. But yeah, I'm experimenting more for sure.
Yeah, you gotta get with the times.
It's true. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. Now that I guess we're gonna be allowed to keep using TikTok here in the States. I don't know.
Oh,
But
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I do remember that. But
yeah, yeah,
I think even if it's banned and you already have an account, you can still leave it up, I think. So just
yeah.
yeah, that's your
What's
next
your
homework.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, and I know that like there's so many platforms nowadays too. It's like, well, which one's gonna be the right fit or hit the
Okay.
audience that we want?
It's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
lot. It's a lot to keep up with.
yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. Signs of the times on digital, on social
Yeah.
media. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I think there's so many things we could dig into for sure.
It's so layered. We like I always say as much as some people are like, well, you know, DEI is canceled in the US, like
Mm,
you should probably change your content. It's not going to resonate with it. Everyone's canceling. And I said, I don't
yeah,
care because this is important to me.
right.
And we're just gonna let them win, obviously, if we silence ourselves. So I still focus on it despite it trying to get canceled, or it
I
is
think it,
canceled.
I think that's so needed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it will
yeah,
always be here. I think that's our lifelong thing. Like I think it's
yep.
almost like this unwritten rule. Like if you're disabled, like we have to just like stand up for ourselves. And
Constantly, right? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
because who's gonna do it for us?
Nobody had, like, nobody ever has, and they won't do it if
Yeah,
you stop,
exactly.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, they won't until they're in that situation. But I always
true,
frame it like this, like, do you want to wait till you're old and immobile or into an accident where you're too tired to actually fight for it then?
right,
Like, do you want to be 80 fighting for it when you have no energy and no voice?
right, exactly.
Right? Like,
Yeah, yep.
if we do it now, it's a later, you know, future you is going to thank you for doing the work while you
That's a
have the
really
energy,
good
while you
point.
have the fight in you. Because when you get older, you're just going to succumb to the outdated system, and then you're going to be like locked away or pushed somewhere, and everyone's going to forget you, and it's going to be a terrible way to end your life, you know?
That's, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, yes, you don't have MD like us, but you're going to get old.
I mean, in some way, like disability is going to be a factor, at some
At some
point.
point,
So,
yeah, things happen. So I always emphasize like we can't control what happens to us, but we can control our environment to adapt to us. So like why don't
hmm,
we change things? Why don't we make things
yeah,
better? It's like we can literally design our life. And so
yeah,
in some ways, I think yes, we have a different, more harder life, unique life, but at the same time, we've been living better because we've customized it to our needs versus kind of
right.
just going with what's already presented. Um,
Yeah, and I think
so
it's like the depth of our like abilities. It seems like is good. I feel like the conversations a lot of the times are more interesting, or like there's, I don't know. It just seems like there's more that can come about from these kinds of, well, even just this one-to-one podcast type thing. Talking about
it's an exciting space to
experiences.
be in for sure, because
Yeah,
like it
yeah.
literally applies to everything. We can talk about, you know, like the kitchen, the home, you know, public spaces, and then it's like products, and then it's like music. And it literally applies to everything because it's such a human thing to have a
Hmm.
disability and it's so universal. And it's like we can
Yeah,
literally be using our brain to make better products that benefits more than just one group of people. But people aren't thinking that way because I get it. Like I think if it's hard to have that perspective if you haven't been touched by disability in one way or another.
hmm,
And the ones that I do know that haven't had an accident, temporarily understood. But sometimes they don't get shaken up by that experience that they feel motivated to change. They just go back to their old ways and forget about it.
that makes me
And
think about
that's
COVID too.
frustrating. Yes.
Yeah, like because so many jobs, so many places went hybrid, at least with remote work or meetings on Zoom and things like that. And now, like the last 3, 4 years, there's been this push to go right back to the way it was before. And you're like, there was our time to adapt as like a
Yeah.
global society, and it's like you're letting this go right by when we have the
This
knowledge.
is my hot take, but I'm glad it happened
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
because
didn't.
it really brought everyone else on our level to understand what we go through with being more homebound, to have
Mm,
restrictions, to have to work from home, to be fearful for our health. You know,
mm-hmm,
it kind of, I feel like that was the only way for it to shake up literally
mm-hmm.
the way of living in the world to understand like
Do
this
you
is
feel like
our
it's going backwards
everyday.
though? Like, is it
Yes, now it's
reverting?
going, yeah, 100% because
Yeah,
once stay-at-home orders got lifted, everyone returned back to their normal life, whereas I still had to be isolated or I'm still homebound, you know, to this day. Like I
right.
need help to leave the
Same.
house.
Yeah,
And it was really hard for me actually. I was actually quite suicidal because I'm like, this is a freaking hard life. I
yeah.
think I was thriving when it was COVID because it
Isn't
made
it?
me feel
Yeah.
normal. And once it returned back to normal, I was struggling because everyone got to go
It's
out,
hard.
do their thing. And I was like, I'm still home and nothing's changed in the last 2 years and I'm still at home.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm like, this is crazy. But things have
yeah.
changed and now they're going, you know, they're making people go back into the office, so that sucks. But now it's a little bit, it's shifted a little bit with like, okay, we now know we can accommodate you to work from
Mm,
home. This
hmm.
is a thing now. We can see you can still be
It does
productive.
exist, right?
It
Yeah,
does
yeah.
exist, but
Like a
beforehand
proof
it's
of
like,
concept, like when you're first designing something, like it can
yeah,
work. Yeah,
yeah. Like, how
yeah.
did you feel about it? Like,
Honestly, it was a mixed like mess for me because like classes were still kind of halfway in person, and and then it returned fairly quickly to people going in person, and then I couldn't. And so it's like,
wait,
well,
they didn't make an exception for you?
they did a lot of times, but at the same time, it was like, well, I was logged in, so like my face is on the computer, but the whole class is in person, and so they're doing their thing, you know, and you just kind of
Oh, that's
like
kind of
feel like
awkward.
this, like, how do I raise my hand? Can I like make a chime, or like, you know, like how do I interact with
Mm,
people that way? So that was rough. And then like I actually, you know, went through ICU with the gallbladder and I had to stop
mm,
working. And so like that was like 2 years into COVID. And so, you know, all those issues combined just made it this giant like mess of
mm.
5 years or something.
Oh, that's,
But
yeah.
but I do really agree with you on the fact that people now know that it can work. And like I was doing it for years with professors that were semi-retired with research. And so like, well, yeah, now at least the rest of the world knows that it's something that's an option to be productive and still have a hybrid schedule. And you know, it's much more adaptive than it was. But at the same time, I know a lot of people that have been forced in a way to like either you go back or you don't have employment, you don't have a
Mm-hmm.
job, you
Yeah.
know, and so it's
Mm-hmm.
that part of it I don't understand at all, how it could still be stuck back in that kind of environment. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's weird what the impact was. I mean, there was good and bad for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. I know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
from that perspective, I felt like it was a good one. You know what I mean? Like just
It
to
was.
show everyone that. But also just I found that people had more empathy for understanding my situation with being homebound or being
Yeah,
afraid to get sick, right? Like it was,
yeah,
I got more understanding from that perspective because they were literally in my shoes by being forced to stay home
yeah, yeah.
and no one was allowed out, you know?
Yeah, how did you cope though with the change when things started going back? And I mean, I know you mentioned you were feeling really down, like even
Yeah, it was
suicidal
hard.
at
Nothing. There's
times.
nothing I could do. I just you know,
Just deal
I
with it
FaceTime,
basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
I FaceTime my you know, my family and friends.
Mm,
I did therapy. I just tried to do everything I could to just let it pass. Like I remember
yeah,
I'd like crash out and just like start crying or like I'd be so sad and then I'd go to my sister's and I would just try to get out of it and
yeah.
you know, I just had to go through it to let it pass. There's nothing else I could do. Otherwise, like what? Like I'm gonna give up. Like I just like it was close. Like I felt really sad.
Yeah,
It was so hard on me mentally. But then eventually I started, you know, then I got my wheelchair and I started dating and things kind of just resumed again. So then
yeah.
that became my new normal.
So you
Whereas
kind of
I
just had to wait it out in a way
yeah,
and
I think
like,
I just had to, like, go through it because before that, I was dating someone and he had a car and we went out more, and that was kind of, like, the next transition in my life where, like, okay, I
mhm.
stopped driving, so now I'm relying on this man, and I had a life together with him, and we lived together, but then we broke up during COVID, and there was no more I had no more car because I gave it up to live in our
So
state.
traveling's like, yeah, that's
Traveling,
gone.
so that was gone. Then it was like, okay, well, since we broke up, not only did I have to learn how to live completely alone, but I had no car anymore. So then I was literally, it's like something's got to give because it's so freaking expensive in Toronto, like to have a car and insurance and gas here, plus in
Yeah.
a condo because condos are accessible, so you pay more
Mm.
for
And like, what
accessible,
about like
right?
public things like taxi or bus? Like, how was that?
Exactly. Like I didn't because I would just take Ubers and stuff because I do
Yeah,
not know how to deal with public transit and I haven't
especially
for
with COVID.
well, yeah, so
Yeah.
then and we weren't supposed to go out, so I would just go, to my sister's and, you know,
Mhm.
she was pregnant at the time, so I also didn't wanna risk getting her sick. So I just kept it strictly with seeing immediate family, and that's
Mhm.
it. Like, I really just, like, would just talk to all my friends online, but it was an adjustment period, so I wonder if things would have been challenging regardless of COVID because I was entering that new era of my life
In
anyway.
that phase of progression
Yeah.
too with the
And
disability. Yeah.
progression was just knowing like, okay, well, there's no car now. You don't know how to walk on your own because if you fall, you're screwed because you're by yourself. So a part of it was like I lost a bit of the confidence to even try
Independence,
to,
right? Like,
yeah, because I was so scared of falling and hurting myself that
yeah,
now it's like maybe I could have gone weaker, but I also don't want to
yeah.
chance it. Friends were like, oh, why don't you just take a step, just take a step, just try
Yeah,
it. I'm
and you
like,
know what? Like,
"Ah,
unless you go through it, you don't know what it's like to
it's
constantly be
so
worried.
scary.
And if you break something, if you hurt
Yeah.
something severely, you're out for,
I
you
think
know,
because
weeks.
I probably also come across a lot stronger than I am as well. Like,
Mhm.
I think they see that I'm still doing a lot of stuff. It's just I have a bad gait and I'm like so wobbly. But I think because prior to that, I was driving and walking around with my cane on my own. That during COVID, they're just like, why don't you try? Why don't you try? Like maybe it's like you're not used to it. It's like could
Mhm.
be, but I don't want to chance it because who's gonna come get me from the ground if I fall? So
Right.
it was like a lot of adjustment in that sense. And now I'm here with a wheelchair and I'm homebound still. Like because I can't I
And
live
that part
alone.
doesn't go away, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's
it doesn't
just,
go away, and so it's not that easy, like, just try. Okay, well, if I fall and it's so scary because I'm so unstable, like, I don't know
yeah.
how else to emphasize it.
It's hard to deal with, you know, and like
Yeah.
as the progression happens, there's more and more things that you have to,
Yeah, you're mourning and you're realizing like, oh, I can't do this anymore. And then you're just
that
so
like that
sad.
version of you is like basically died
Gone.
at this point. Yeah. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
like this reinvention that you have to constantly go through, I feel like.
Well,
And
you gotta
it's,
like grieve and rebuild,
and what's been
adapt.
hard for me too lately is like still being homebound and seeing everybody else like getting busier again, like there's less contact, and then you're just like, well, there goes that friend I was messaging like 10 hours a day, you know, and then they're real world like busy hustle and bustle thing again. It's
Yeah,
just like,
and it's tough because they're like, well, they have their own life, like, you
and it's
know.
not to say it's wrong or it's, you know, not, but you just get used to things, and then like we're still here in you know, in home space, and it's like,
Yeah, yeah, and it's like sometimes
yeah,
it's like, "Man, I wish I could go," or I know I would have been invited if I could go,
true.
and you also just subconsciously know like, oh man, like this that you're grieving this opportunity that you didn't even have a chance in. Like it sucks because
And it's
I
hard
know.
that the comparison thing is just so natural, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, and
yeah.
it's like you can't help but then get mad and resent your situation where you're like, "Fuck, like I would have done that. I would have loved that, but I can't because now I'm stuck at home and also no one owes me that, but also like it'd be nice if they invited me or asked me or it'd be nice if we can figure it out or maybe I should have reached out too." And then you start having all this like crazy dialogue with yourself
It's
and you're just like,
overthinking like to the max. Like, yeah,
yeah, and
yeah,
there's a
yeah.
lot of feelings with being like trapped.
That's trapped is the right word.
It's being trapped, and I'm lucky I found a place with a balcony, so if I really need fresh air, I just open it and like stick my head out. You know, but now it's like I'm learning how to go out with my wheelchair when my friends come. Like I'm just like, can you just help me into it now? I'm like teaching them to just straight up be like, can you transfer me? Because I can't leave the house if we don't do it.
Right.
But I've been very fortunate. I had friends who would come over during COVID and before I got my wheelchair, and during winter especially, they would just come to my house and come see me, and we always do dinner at mine, and that's how
See,
they
that's what's
accommodate
so
me.
cool is when they adapt, when they listen to that, you know, and it's like if we didn't have, you know, I think if I didn't have my family and friends and support system there to do things like that, I'm like, some people
Exactly.
don't have that, and I have no idea how they would ever handle it. You know,
Yeah,
it's
I'm very,
yeah,
very lucky that, they are willing to accommodate me. And I think that also took years of just also like kind of training them, but also, really pointing out and setting those kind of boundaries like, sorry, I can't come. It'd be nice if you can come, or can we do dinner? And it's like, yeah, we'll come to you. So it's like kind of
exactly.
it is a two-way communication thing
Both
because
pivoting a little bit, you know, to make it
you
work.
have to also be, patient and communicative. And
Mm,
I've also gotten to things with friends where it's like, sorry, I didn't tell you about this thing. I just felt bad. And it's like, where did that come from? Are you projecting? And it's like, yeah, actually, sorry, I was because I just feel bad. And it's like, well, so it's checking in both ways because it's also, I believe it's not easy to be, a caregiver slash friend or a family
yeah,
member with someone with such complex and dynamic needs, right? It's like,
right.
so I've learned it's a lot of communication with friends and family for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think that gets lost a lot is the impact on, you know, the family and friends of people with disabilities like that. You know, it's just like,
Yeah. So, I'm so thankful, but I also try to remind myself like I don't like they don't owe that to me. Like
exactly.
so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
always try to make sure I'm feeling, I'm very grateful, but at the same time it's like I do feel guilty sometimes. Like I
yeah.
do
Like the
feel a
burden
burden.
complex thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 100% there's a burden complex depending on, that time of the month with my hormones, depending on
Mhm.
what's going on in my life or their life, and if I see them overly stressed or I almost can sense like they don't want to, but they have to, then I start to internalize the guilt and shame because it's
Exactly. Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, I'm sorry to put you in this position, but I kinda need it." But and then, you just don't want your loved ones to resent you for something that you can't control.
Right.
So
Right.
it's like trying to find that balance and navigating that so everyone's happy.
Yeah. And that's not easy. It's not. And like,
It's a lot. There's a lot
and
of
honestly, like even though I've been dealing with this since I was like 12 years old and these things happening with the burden complex and stuff, like there's still times when I catch myself right back in that space, you know, and it's like it doesn't matter how many times you've felt it, there's still times you're gonna feel it again.
you will go right back there. Yeah,
Hmm.
it just
Hmm.
depends on where you are in life, and I don't think that ever goes away. It's
It
just
doesn't. It's
how do
like
you
little
manage it?
micro traumas or something, you know.
Yeah, it is traumatic getting sick. No one talks about like it is traumatic to be diagnosed with this and then go through it on the daily.
I mean,
It's
there's
like
daily trauma, and then there's like, you know,
lifelong trauma.
and when that version that can't do things anymore, you know, like pops up when you progress like further, it's like, well, now that there's another trauma moment, you know, and even for
Yeah,
me, like I still go back to like dating things, even in high school, like feelings and trauma from that. And I'm just like
100%. That
I'm
affects you.
36 years old. Why am I going back to that place, you know?
Because
And
it
it's
was so
just,
like it developed our frontal lobe. That's like you like, you know, that was it is traumatic. I don't believe in there's a thing like time heals all. I really think you have to
mm,
like you can try to work at it, but sometimes we don't know
yeah,
we're holding on to it and until something triggers it, right? So like
yeah,
I don't believe in the timeline thing. I think it's more of like a pain thing or something that's in there and it's in our bodies or we're holding on to it subconsciously. And I think we
yeah,
forget because we're trying to survive and move on and cope and deal with present day stuff.
it's
But
true.
our high school days, I know for me, really impacted me.
Yeah,
It
same
really messed
here.
me up. Like,
More than I realized at the time. Like, you know, years and years later, you realize, oh, like, I mean, it wasn't bad. Like, there was a lot of good, but there were still
yeah, of course. It's
like,
like these are memorable, deep imprinted moments. Like that's why I'm so big on educating them while they're young because
hmm
we want people with just young little kids with disabilities to know that they're not, you know, like they're not worth living. Like I want them to
exactly.
feel good about themselves and to know that they are worth it. And if they don't have that when they're young, then they're gonna end up like us who are confused and we were hurt when we were young, right? It's like we got to start them
Yeah,
when they're young, and
yeah,
this will also prevent more ableism happening. So you just
it's
gotta.
true.
So I highly believe in education, like literally from day one. Like I was thinking of
I
doing like
totally
more
agree.
children books, and
There needs to
um,
be.
there needs to
Yeah,
be. It
yeah,
does start from when you're young. Like how else
yeah,
do you
it
learn it? You
does.
learn
And
it
I don't
through
know,
writing.
you know, you having like nieces or nephews or whatever, like I have a nephew and I keep thinking I need to be around and teach him, you know, as many of these things as possible because that's
Exactly.
one more person that can experience and realize like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a disability.
Yeah,
Like you
you
can
don't want them to
be
be afraid. You know,
exactly
we don't like
right.
it's okay to be curious, but we don't want them to grow up to be dicks.
Uh,
Like,
that's the best way to
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but that's
Quote
what
of the
happens.
day. Yeah. Yeah.
It's yeah, yeah. It's like, why are they dicks? Because no one taught them to be better, right?
Exactly.
Like,
That's so true. So true. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I think we have the name of the podcast now
Oh my
for
God.
this episode. Yeah.
Yeah, education is very important. Awareness is important.
It
Empathy is
is.
important. Like, you know, at the end of the day, we're two humans that are going through this, but anyone can as well.
Right.
And it's
Right.
like, if it's not you directly, I always say this too. What about your loved ones? Do you want them to suffer or struggle? What if it's your child? What if it's your parents? What if it's your
That's the thing.
grandparents? Like,
It reaches
do you
way
not care about
beyond.
people?
Right.
You know, like it's not just
Is there
you
not someone in your life, like two
that you
people
care.
across that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what's
It's just
hard.
basic humanity. Like if you see someone struggling across the street, my brother saw, so he's healthy and has no MD, but
Mhm.
he said he was getting off the streetcar and it was during winter. Some woman was in a wheelchair and I guess when she got off, her chair tipped or she couldn't get over the
Mm.
snowbank. No one helped her.
Just
And he
left
just,
her.
yeah, and he ran over and he's like, "Oh my God, let me help you," you know? And it's like that is a basic common thing to do.
Yeah.
But lots of people just like, oh, like, you
Just
know.
like empathy as a human being. Like, you know, when you see someone struggling, like help them. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not, yeah. Yeah. And I think that like our stories can maybe help spread a little bit of that, hopefully. Just anything to help improvement with
just two
that
geriatric
area.
millennials catching up on life with
Yeah,
MD.
look at these like old, cranky, like senile 30-year
Hey, we're
olds.
wise now, okay?
It's the age of enlightenment, right? When you have what we're going through in our
My grays,
30s.
they are wisdom highlights, okay? I'm
Ooh.
not,
Honestly,
that's
I'm
what's
not
happening.
that bothered when I find the grays anymore.
Yeah,
But
yeah, right? Because, oh gosh, my childhood was so rough. I had grays starting at least grade 7.
see, yeah, and that's the thing is like the things that happen, yeah, yeah, the gray
It's
hairs
from,
start spreading
yeah,
out
it's
quicker.
like the trauma of MD, but also like I have personal stuff that happened in my life that made it very
Mm,
difficult. I'm also a child of divorced parents
mhm.
and divorced immigrant parents. So it's like there's so many layers to what I went through, but it's like now in my 30s, I don't care that I have
Look at
gray.
these gray hairs of
Yeah,
wisdom.
I
Yeah, yeah.
it is what it is. Like, you know, I actually I love getting older, to be honest, in the
Mm,
sense that I
in a
feel
lot of ways, yeah,
yes, because
yeah,
we're wiser, we're more sure of ourselves. You know, we're more unapologetic. But I think when you're
exactly.
young and you're vulnerable and you're so susceptible to any
And you're
kind of
trying to
trauma,
hide, yeah,
yeah, and you're trying to
yeah,
go through everything like that, that's really hard.
yep. And
Yeah, but
it's like now, like you know, we really don't give near as much
yeah, I
as
feel
we
very
used.
empowered just talking about it and owning it. It's like, this is my situation. I even make jokes about it, you know, like, um, like I eat very clean to try to manage my health. And I always say, like, I'm here for a long time, not a good time, you know, like I'm trying to be here, like, because I worked so hard to survive with this. And
Yeah,
And, like I always say, God wanted me to be a diva. So that's why I got to get carried everywhere. Like they never wanted me to
Hey,
open
there
it.
you go.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So now it's
Yeah.
like I joke about it and I own it. Whereas, before I used to just like literally hide it.
And like
Now
it
it's
would be
like,
like a
oh,
downer, but now it's like, yeah,
I
it's a
just make a
source of
joke
humor.
or
Yeah.
I have a sense of humor about it, and that's how I know I've healed through some of the issues I've, that have
Yep.
hurt me in the past or everything I've been through. So it's like, yeah, I just own it. And I make the joke. Like I also like to make dark humor anyway. I have a lot of dark
Yeah.
humor.
Hey, I've noticed like I have way more of that than I used to. Yeah, that's another enlightenment thing maybe, but like the just laughing about it or just joking around or like the sarcasm effect. Like, I think that's
Yeah, like I don't know if I'm like it depends who it is, but I'll make a joke and say like, "Oh my God, if we go out and they take me out and I had such a nice time," I joke like, "Oh my God, it's like my Make-A-Wish buddy. Like you made it, my dreams come true." Like I joke, right? Because it's like, yes, like I would have gone out if it wasn't for you, but it's like
yeah.
if I just tease and it's funny
I
and
like that. I mean, like the right people like that in your lives that you can do
they'll
that with.
laugh.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Man,
think
we'll have to have a little more of that sarcastic banter, I think now.
yeah,
Now that,
yeah,
yeah.
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 I know.
Yeah, that's
But yeah.
good. Yeah. Yeah. But no, it's been really great. I know Zoom fatigue is definitely a
I
thing.
know
So
it's already how much
yeah,
it's been.
I honestly don't even, I guess we got
Time
on at
flew by.
2 o'clock. Yeah. But that means good conversation at least. So
We
yeah.
can talk about
Yeah.
everything. I always say that with all MD people in the community. We
Exactly.
can yap and yap and yap because it's
Well,
like the
and then
first
like,
time we feel
yeah.
seen
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
heard.
Yeah. Yeah. And those like new connections are cool to make too. Like when you still, I mean, I know that there's a digital messaging side, but the face to face on,
It's nice, yeah.
yeah.
So going in
Yeah.
person to these conferences or anything like that,
I
it's
want
so
to try more,
important. Yeah,
honestly.
you
Yeah.
definitely should try to see if there's anything because it is just such a nice feeling to know that you're with your people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never been in that kind of thing much. So I'm like, it would be really cool to go
You
somewhere like
definitely
Washington
should.
or
Yeah,
yeah.
make it a
Yeah.
goal because it like person to person and just putting a face to these messages. It's just the energy, like the atmosphere is like you feel
Well,
like you're in
the
place.
in-person stuff is richer, right? Like
Mhm.
it's way deeper when you've already had this and then you see in person. So yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be
Or
cool.
even just like some people I've messaged and then when we finally meet in person, I'm like, I feel like I already know you.
Yes.
It's
It's
so
true. Isn't
cool.
that's a
Yeah.
cool feeling? Yeah. Yeah, I like
Mhm.
that a lot. Yeah.
Like
Okay.
even
Well,
just you and I have never chatted ever,
yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
right away on our call within like minutes, I've already felt comfortable.
Yep.
I
Same
think there's
here.
just like this
Same here.
understanding, like we are
And you
a
don't get
good
that
fit.
anywhere, right? Like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like a snap your fingers and like, oh yeah, yeah, like right away. It's easy to get into it. Yeah, yeah. I really appreciate
Yeah.
those connections are the good ones.
Yeah, this was a really good chat. Thanks for having
Yeah.
me.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we
this was
can
good.
even, I don't know, at some point figure out if we could do another episode digging into something specific even in the future. But
Yeah, yeah, we can
yeah,
also, like maybe you can see if anyone wants to hear us talk about certain topics
that's
more,
what I'm
or
thinking. Yeah, yeah.
we
And I
just
mean, with
start
your
going things towards
TikTok kind
open-ended.
of influence, like I don't know if you'd want to, we could do some kind of collab maybe where
Yeah, yeah, I was
I
thinking
take
we
the
can.
Instagram half and you do the TikTok half or whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah, we can do
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Sounds
yeah. The
good.
collabs sound like that. Those are good ones. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, the one thing I wanted to, I'll put it in this podcast. Kind of the last icebreaker. What's something coming up that you're really excited about, like in the future, like online, in person, anything particular,
Like
like
anything at like my summer plans.
events? Yeah, yeah. Any of that? Yeah.
I might be going on my first all-inclusive to Mexico. So
Ooh.
I'm really excited to see how that will go, as much as I'm really scared about like the accessibility and the traveling and the flight.
True.
As we all know, air travel is scary for wheelchair users, but
Yep.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to, going to a day party to see a DJ I really like next week.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, I'm trying to, summer is my window to just go hard.
Yes. Yep. Yep. No, I went to
Um,
a concert 2 days ago too in Nashville, and it was just like the summer feeling was really nice. So
if I
yeah.
ever come to Nashville, I'm gonna come see you.
Oh yeah, I know the good spots there for sure, and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
accessible ones too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You know you're
Yeah.
in good hands when you hang out with other disabled people because
Because they know
it's just
we're
like you
all
don't have to think.
yeah.
You know exactly where you're going and you get it done and then you can just be normal.
You don't have to worry about all the little intricate dangers that you face in your
Yeah.
wheelchair. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like it's
Cool.
because I also fell, my summer was kind of cut short for a few weeks of just laying in bed recovering. So I'm gonna try to make
That's
the most
hard.
before Canada only has like a small window of
I
warm
was gonna
weather.
say what I don't know what your warm weather time frame is, but yeah,
It's literally the summer.
it's like gone in probably a
Maybe
month.
3. Yeah, it's like we
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
get 3 at best, 2 for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't go out at all in the winter, and like
I
that,
I
I
can
try not to.
imagine. Yeah, that's got to be
Yeah,
rough. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
that sounds like fun though to go to a little Mexico getaway
that
and
will be in
check that out.
October, so I'm really excited. What about you?
Yeah. You know what? Like I just coming off the concert, I'm kind of trying to find like the next, like I always like to have something to look forward to kind of, but
Right?
there's
Yeah, it actually is important. I realize how important that is to kind of
in
get
the
you
calendar too,
motivated.
right? Like,
Yeah, to get you motivated, be like, I'm looking forward to this because I think we do so much day to day that it's like we need a break from our exhausting
yeah,
daily life.
seriously, yeah, like some
Yeah.
kind of highlight. But yeah, there's like I'm still so new to Tennessee that there's like, you
Oh,
know,
that's so exciting. You should go explore
waterfalls, like
everything.
so many waterfalls out here that I haven't seen, and I don't know,
Yeah,
just
there's
like
so much.
scenic stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, there's
yeah.
probably so much to explore. That's
That
exciting.
I'm keeping a list, so yeah, there's plenty. But yeah,
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
sure
that'll be fun.
appreciate it, Kay. Like I'll reach out and yeah, send you a few more details about the podcast later. But
Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah,
We'll be in touch.
yeah,
Cool.
glad we got to meet, and yeah,
Yeah,
looking
me
forward to
too.
it.
Thanks for
Yeah,
having me. It was a really great chat. And
yeah.
I just want to say I really like that you ask non-MD questions as well
Uh,
because it's also fun to talk about other stuff.
well, that's kind of my. I mean, I don't have like an official mission necessarily, but that's one of my big things. Is like that's why I'm doing the podcast. Like, yeah, there is that big part of MD in our lives, but it's
Like who
we're
are we outside
people.
of it
Like
as well?
we have passionate things that are not disability related. So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I like it. Good touch.
yeah, definitely. But I
Yeah.
appreciate it, Kate. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
Yeah,
We'll
all
be
right,
in touch. Okay.
sounds good.
Bye.